Hi there, just before we start the video, I'd just like to remind you that I have an email subscription list. You can find the URL for the list in the description for this video, or you can find it on my websites, russleach.com, comicbookblackbelt.com, or onlydeathcansavus.com. That's the name of the book, Only Death Can Save Us. I won't be filling your inbox up. It'll just be short bits of information about the book or things that are going on the channel. The book is a cosmic Bronze Age inspired journey. That's art and story. So if you like the way comics used to be, hopefully you'll really like this book. So that's it for now. Let's get on with the video.
Hi there, welcome back to the dojo. This is Comic Book Black Belt. I am Russ Leach, I am the Comic Book Black Belt. And first off, an apology for my voice, is a little bit croaky. And this is the first video back after about 10 days to 2 weeks, because I had an awful chest infection, and that's the reason why there's been no content up. So if you've subscribed in that time, because I haven't any new videos up, you subscribe to what I currently have up, my current content, thank you very much. And to everybody who's watching, thanks for the support and for watching and for commenting. And obviously I would imagine there's a fair amount of crossover on Instagram and Facebook and what have you, and Twitter, so thanks for being there. So that's the apology out of the way for not having enough content up for the last 2 weeks. So I'll just get straight on with this video. This is the third video. I don't know quite how many I'm going to do, maybe another couple, because I've had some really good responses to these videos. This is where I go through the artwork, the inks, the pencils and the inks that I've done for a previous issue of Doctor Who Adventures, which I did for 2 years. I did a 2-year run for Doctor Who Adventures for the BBC and Panini in the UK a while ago, not too long ago, a couple of years now it's been gone. And I run through the artwork on screen with you, but also I refer a little bit to the script, but also in the description you'll find a link to a download on my website where you can get all the inked pages. So if you fancy colouring them, or if you fancy you know, having your own go at them and you want them for reference, and what also on top of that, a script, the original script from Andrew Cartmel, who wrote this particular issue, issue 19, and it's Fearbuds. Andrew Cartmel has a distinguished career and is very much entwined with Doctor Who. If you're a big Whovian, you'll know Andrew Cartmel. And it was a real pleasure to work with him. He's a great writer. The great thing about the script in this particular one is often when you're working from scripts and the way that scripts are written, there's two ways of doing it. There's the detailed version where a writer would like to take full control, or as much control as they can, over the visual perception of it, and giving you angles and ideas about how to actually visualize certain aspects of panels and how they run. And then there's the Stan Lee method, which is a great method to work with if you are really in tune with your writer as an artist. And basically the writer will just say, okay, this is what goes on the page, you know, make it work. So, and then they'll script it afterwards. This particular approach that Andrew's got in this particular script is kind of a halfway house. So he breaks the panels down, tells me the action that's going on in the panels, and the first draft, I suppose, of, or an early version of the script itself that the letterer will use. But there's not huge amounts of detail. It doesn't say which angle I should use, doesn't say where it's coming from. He leaves it down to me as the artist, as the visual storyteller. So the visual aspect, the visual part of the partnership between the artist and the writer. And he lets me get on with it. So it'll be interesting, I think, for other people to see this work. So you can examine my work on the video, you can examine the files, and also the script itself, and look, you know, kind of cross-reference the whole lot. And if you fancy having a crack at it yourself, you know, get on and make that story, make the visuals for it. I'd love to see it if anybody actually does do that, or if they want to colour up the ink files. Love to see that, absolutely love to see that. And also love to see any comments or responses about the video, and obviously a conversation about comic art in general. So I'm going to get on now and just whiz through the video with you. So I'll just have to find it again. Excuse me. Here we go. Something I will pop up at the end is some more colours for you to look at. So here we have the first page, and you'll find in the script that Andrew's given a lot of really good visual reference. So he's gone out to the internet, gone on the Google, checked out bits and pieces. As you can see there, part of the inking that I'm producing, I'm actually using layers and using the techniques involved in Photoshop and what have you, the tools that I have. So I might create a fascia for a building. I've already drawn in my guidelines as far as perspective is concerned, and then what I'll do is I'll take the fascia of the building and skew it into the perspective lines that I've put together. So kind of like a 3D model, wrapping a skin around a 3D model. And you can see here I'm reusing, I've mentioned this in a Ben 10 video where I reuse assets from old issues that I've drawn myself. So there's no cheating there, I'm just going back and using my own stuff, planning in a page and then inking in over the top. And as I said, there's lots of great reference, visual reference that Andrew's put in, and he's given me anything from costuming to architecture. But it's still down to me to make sure these things work. You see another bit of fascia there that I've popped into the back. And getting all these things in place, so making them feel like they're in a real 3D world, and making it work. And I have to say that that aspect of digital penciling and digital inking makes life, it does make putting together a convincing 3D environment easier than putting it down on a physical page. I would have to spend lots of time messing around with photocopies and using a light box. So it would still be pretty much the same process. The only difference is that it's just that much quicker digitally, and the tools that you get from things like Paint and Clip Studio and Photoshop. They just make the whole process that much quicker. So when you're hitting a deadline, it really is worthwhile to have these tools. And again, the interior here, this was something that Andrew had mentioned about getting right, and all the reference that he put in. Most of the reference was at the start of the script, and like I was saying before, he didn't over describe. He let me get on with it, and I think there's something to be said. I feel a title for a video coming up. I think there's something to be said between the relationship between a writer and an artist. In fact, the relationship between all members of your team, if you're in a multi-member team. So with me, there was the colorist, there was the letterer. The letterer was an in-house designer, so it didn't quite have the same aspect as to the group dynamic that you would normally have in a project team. But certainly the colorist, I would spend time talking to the colorist, and obviously I had that interaction with the writer as well. So but even more so than that, if you're a penciler and an inker as well, having an understanding between your teammate, one up the line or one down the line from the process you are in, is huge, and I think it makes a big difference to the final output. I know there's a lot of us out there, there'll be a lot of people watching this video, one-man bands like myself, who will want to do all of it themselves. In my upcoming book, which I'll be producing a quick preview of soon, actually, Only Death Can Save Us. I'm in the middle of finishing off the inks on the cover for that, and I'll show the inks for the cover in the first 8 pages, because that's always going to be the preview for everybody to hopefully get excited about the book. I'm doing it all myself, and in my head I was going to colour it myself as well, but I've been approached by a couple of people who colour, Bearing in mind my other work, the work that I'm doing at the moment, and that is booked in for myself, I'm not necessarily going to have all the time I want to do the whole thing myself. So I think I may well approach one of these colorists, and it's that communication, as I was harping back to a few minutes ago, between yourself and the writer, or yourself and the colorist, or yourself and the inker, whichever aspect you're in. It's hugely important, not just to like hand the pages off and go, there you go, that's it, done, you do your bit. I think there should be real proper communication, almost like a brief debrief, so you can just quickly run through the pages and go, there you go. I mean, I know back in the old days, in the ballpen, I'm sure that the artists just flicked out their pages and handed them off to inkers, and that was it. That was the end of it. But there wasn't this brief and debrief in between. But I think the difference being there is they already had an understanding, and you also had a history. All those people didn't just turn up being as good as they were. They took time to develop into their roles, and because they all developed into their roles along the seemingly parallel lines of the way that the early comic book publishing industry created itself and recreated itself, they kind of all grew up together, as it were, and all improved together. So they had that understanding lockstep because of the work and the history that they had. The difference between that and going and finding a team, or going and looking for an inker or a colorist just out of the blue, it's different, and you really need to hit it off with them and communicate with them, and understand they're going to work with you, not against you, so that you're all complementing each other's abilities, techniques, and work. So, but the first place of that, the first part of all that, the first instance in which that works will be the writer and the penciler, because that's where the sequential art is generated from. That's where the visual story flow is generated from, the relationship between the writer and the penciler. Often you go through editors, especially in bigger publishers, but from my personal perspective, I made it a point that every time I worked on, for instance, on Doctor Who, that I went and approached each writer that I worked with, spoke to them about the work that I was doing, showed them sketches, showed them finished pencils before I went to inks. Obviously, the editor was the person that had the final say, but I wanted the writer to be comfortable with it, and also it meant that if I'd possibly missed something, that the writer could inform me where I'd maybe gone wrong, or where I'd strayed too far. But he could also say, oh no, you know, I could talk to them from the reverse perspective of, I've done this, and the writer would say, oh wow, I didn't think about going that route, you've absolutely nailed it. So communication is key between all your members, all the members of your team. And I think if you're a one-man band, if you're doing it all on your own, reach out to other people for critiques. And if you can at all do it, get an editor. So team is important, but self-criticizing, self-critiques, and constant monitoring of how it's going is really what's going to make your book work, or make a story work. So I think that's the key for this video. The video is, I started out on talking about scripting and about how that applies to the page, the visual page. But what's really important is your communication with the other members of your team, specifically the sequential artist and the writer, and how that transforms into the visual story. So hopefully I've made some sense, and I've been able to maybe point you in the right direction. Let me know what you think. Let me know how your teams work. Let me know how your book works, if you've got an editor or not, if you're looking for one, how you think the production of your stories will work, and whether this has been any help. And if obviously, again, if you want to colour up those pages, there's like I say, there's a download link in the description. If you want to colour those pages, if you just want to recreate your own pages, or you just want to take a look at the script to see how, you know, a seasoned pro like Andrew has put together, I would say a quick script. He's knocked this script out. It's a great little story, but he hasn't overdone it, and he's just let me run with it. So, you know, what's your interpretation of that? How have you done that? That would be interesting to see as well. And any other comments? So I'll be popping up another video again soon, because I'd really like to put up a preview of the inked pages for Only Death Can Save Us. I also want to quickly run through a video about my concepts for the story, how I put together the script. So that'll be another video, and I'll probably be up and again with another Ben 10 production video, because I've got 2 more of those to put in the series. So my voice is just about running out now, so I think I'll have to cut this short now. Remember, I've got the email list, like I will have mentioned at the start of the video. Subscribe to the channel, it'd be great. Thank you again, everybody subscribed. More subscribers on BitChute and on YouTube. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means a huge amount for you to listen to what I've got to say and look at the visuals that I put out. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they're all linked in there in the description. Come find me. I always like a conversation about good art. And I think that's about it. Like I say, hit me up on the email list. It's been a couple of weird weeks not having any voice, but I'm back on it now. So thanks for turning up and watching the video. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll be back with another video again real soon. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching Comic Book Black Belt. If you've enjoyed the content from this video, please like, share or subscribe, and come over and follow me on Twitter. It's been great having you in the dojo. See you again soon.